G'day guys, this is Googs and you're welcome to my drunk philosophy. I fell into a trap. A lot of people my age group are falling into a trap, and that's what I call the fuddy-duddy trap, where our pasts were so much better than anything that's happening today because it's flavoured. It's flavoured by a childhood or teen years or whatever, and we forget little details. And I'm just going to give one example here today. A meme that I've seen going around tons and tons and tons of times, and not just from people my age, older as well, the older X's, the boomers, even older millennials, because let's face it, older millennials, we're talking early 80s, so we're talking about people in their mid to late 30s. And these memes go around going, oh, kids today are so weak because they've got all these problems, really, with, things like, I'm allergic to stuff. We weren't that bad when we were kids. Well, that's kind of not true. I'm going to give you one word that proves that, just debunks the whole concept of kids today aren't as allergic as they were back in my day. Maybe they should go out and play more in the dirt. And it's one word, it's asthma. Now, if you're an Australian, you instantly go, oh yeah, asthma. Because I don't care if you're a boomer, I don't care if you're a Gen X, I don't care even if you're an older millennial, we all know that word. Because we all had friends, or maybe we ourselves had it. What is asthma? It's an allergic reaction to pollen in the lungs. Okay, it's not anaphylactic, but it certainly does massive damage over time. Allergic to grass seeds, allergic to wattle, allergic to banksia, allergic to, you name it. Wax. Kids were always allergic throughout history. Now, we had a name for it, asthma. Now, here's the difference, I think. Now, I may be wrong, and I'm quite happy to be wrong, but the large difference between the allergies of the past, because there were people who were allergic to peanut butter when I was a kid. There were people who were allergic to bees when I was a kid. There are people who were allergic to a whole host of things when I was a young fella. Now I think back on it. I was lucky enough not to be one, but my sister certainly was allergic to grass and to pollen and to all those other horrible things. In fact, it made her very sick for a very long period of time. There were days, especially during the harvest time when we were living in the bush, where she didn't leave the house, couldn't leave the house. Anyway, that's anecdotal. What the difference is today is that people have become to recognise that, yes, there are a lot of kids out there who are allergic to different things, and instead of doing what they did in my time, which was you give a note to the teacher, or maybe the kid tells the teacher, say, look, I'm not supposed to eat X, Y, and Z, or, I'm asthmatic, so I've got my Ventolin inhaler. In fact, you used to have to get a note from the teacher if you were asthmatic, so that you could carry around your Ventolin inhaler. I remember that quite clearly. There was a young man once again, this is anecdotal, but there was a young man I remember when I was a little kid, named Aaron Bodycoat, extremely, and g'day Azza if you ever watch this, extremely asthmatic, and we lived in a little rural town called Carnamar at the time, and yeah, he was always on his inhaler, because he was crook a lot of the time out there. But you needed a little note for it. But the kids today are not being given the responsibility for their illnesses. And that's not victim blaming. That's, you are in charge of your health. At all times, you are in charge of your health. And that, to me, is what's the difference between my time and today. Because today, it's up to the teacher, it's up to the nurse, it's up to all these other people. They are responsible for the wellness of these young people with these conditions. And I think that takes away a little bit of the autonomy of the person, that they're not in charge of their own specific health issues. But it just leads to this flavouring of, oh, well, times were so much better when I was younger. And I'm going to give you one more example of how this can work. Now, for the boomers, they're going to go, yeah, we totally get this. The older Gen Xers are like, yeah, we totally get this. People my age and younger, probably not so much. You know, we think of our childhoods and they were fun, and maybe mum made you your clothes, maybe you got them from the op shop. Didn't matter, you were a kid, you were just having fun. You were doing your thing, hanging with your mates, fishing on weekends maybe, or maybe on your BMX trying to, you know, pull a cool broadie or do a jump or whatever it was that you were doing at the time. You know, skating, a lot of people skated back then, or, you know, maybe you were a bit more like me, you were more into your Transformers and your He-Man and the female counterparts of that, like Barbie and that, although I never played with dolls, they were frickin' action figures. and times were good, right? You know, you did your dishes and you got a little bit of pocket money or whatever it was, and you know, life was pretty cool, it was pretty crazy, it was pretty good, right? Our parents, on the other hand, were having a motherfucker of a time, especially the people who were still living in the one-income traditional nuclear households. Because they had one income, the interest rates were through the damn roof. We had the recession that we needed to have in the late 80s, early 90s. Wall Street, of course, affected Australia in 87, I think it was, and through 88 and whatnot, plus the recession. It was not easy being an adult at that time. You know, you had to put up with shit. There were people being laid off left, right and centre from jobs that they'd maybe had at that point for 15, 20 years. It was not fun. You know, people going, well, how the hell am I going to make my house repayment? The interest rates have just gone up and I've got a variable interest, you know, loan. And $35,000 back in those days was a fuckload of money compared to $35,000 today. Most people don't even sneeze at it. Go, okay, I've got a 5-year loan for $35,000, $37,000, whatever. You know, repayments, man, what? It's $780 a month. Fuck it, I'll put $1,000 on it a month. Easy done, easy done. Back then, that was not even thought of. Nobody had the money for it. Unemployment was what, 6.5% in 1990. You know, with an interest rate close to 20%. That's a Reserve Bank interest rate, the entire country, 20%. You can imagine what the banks were slugging people. With unemployment that high, interest rates that high, plus a recession in the economy, man. Okay, for us as kids, it was great. We had a good time. You know, our parents fucking scraped the bottoms of barrels to make that happen, by the way. It was not fun to be an adult then. And now we've hit the age, mature adults or whatnot, and life isn't fun. Well, we can still have fun, but you know what I mean. Mortgages to pay, cars to pay, and we look at these young people going, oh, they've got everything on a silver platter, not thinking that in 20 years' time they're going to be exactly where we are. Times haven't changed all that much. It's just we think they have. So keep your wits about you. Do a little bit of actual research on what happened before us. And don't get coloured into the corner of, oh, everything was beautiful when we were young, because it wasn't. It's actually worse. I'm Nathan Gooks Fletcher. I am the Drunk Philosopher, and I'll catch you good people down the road. Hooroo. Be good.